Welcome, everybody, to the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. My name is Nicole Greer, and they call me the Vibrant Coach. And today I have an author, an entrepreneur, and an athlete with me today. So I have with me the author of this book. Look at this, Preparing for Battle by Chad Price. I'm so glad to have him here. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Chad is a seasoned serial entrepreneur. He can't get enough of this stuff, and he has an impressive track record spanning over a decade. He founded Kettlebell Kings from scratch and orchestrated a remarkable 3-year, don't miss this, multi-million-dollar acquisition back in November of 2021. Today, it stands tall as a thriving international company, making waves in the esteemed Inc. 5000. And in 2019, Chad pivoted into another passion of his, natural lifestyle products. His new company, don't everybody write this down, Life Grows Green, is uprooting negative stereotypes about hemp and creating new products by only using the elements found in nature. And you can find out more about him at chadprice.com. Welcome to the show, Chad. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for the nice intro as well.
Yeah, of course. All right. So what's it like to be an author? What happened the day you held this in your hand? What was that like?
It was an interesting experience. I think writing it was more than actually physically holding it. So like seeing it completed, that was like kind of a milestone in my life, like I think. But the fact that I had kind of a 10-year journey in the sale, that really gave me a chance to recap and turn the next chapter in my own life. So I tried to kind of culminate everything I learned so far in a book and really put that information in a way that I think is most digestible for most people.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, in Build a Vibrant Culture, my company, we work with leaders to help them, get lit from within. And you being a serial entrepreneur and being somebody who's been in business for a long time, I know that you have that inner energy. I'm just curious. I'm collecting definitions of leadership. Well, how do you define leadership?
Well, I think there's different, different types of leaders. So I take a lot of my experiences from sports and from the athletic teams I've been on. So I've had coaches who are, completely just a hard ass and, it's their way or the highway. And then I've had people who are more democratic. I've had more dictators. It's really so many different ways to do it. I try to talk about this in the book, the different kinds of leadership, the different types of learners, different things like that, so that you can kind of find your own style. I don't think there's one type of leader. If I was looking to try to say what's the common denominator, I think it's consistency, perseverance, having that kind of grit to continue the fight no matter the circumstances. And people, when they see you putting that level of effort forth, it's kind of hard not to get behind that in terms of a leadership and trying to inspire people.
Okay. All right. So tell me a little bit about your story. So in your book, you talk about growing up and that you discovered sport and fitness. You actually won a football state championship. Tell me a little bit about your background, and then let's talk about how you developed Kettlebell Kings.
Sure. I grew up in a small town, Bay City, Texas. Growing up there was, not much to do besides sports. So I played sports 24/7. I was outside every day for, 12 to 16 hours, probably every single day playing some type of sport. So, started off recreationally, got a lot more competitive as I got older. So when I got to high school, I really started focusing on, what was my next step going to be. And that culminated with me getting a football scholarship to Rice. And so I've had so many kind of sports experiences in every different type of sport, sports where I'm on team sports, individual sports. And I really I learned so many lessons from trying to improve myself in those particular activities. And I take a lot of those lessons into entrepreneurship. So, when I started my companies, I had no idea how to do a lot of the things, but I knew, like sports, I was going to have to practice every day. I was going to have to get better and really try to create a regiment of skills, or a regiment of activities that would develop those skills that I needed to succeed.
Yeah. So you said you learned a lot of lessons and you've brought them forward. Share with us a lesson that you learned in sports and how you apply it to entrepreneurship.
I mean, even when I talk about it in the book, a good example, I think is just brand building. At the time when I was in high school, I did not realize what brand building was. I wasn't even thinking about brand building. I was just, trying to figure out who I was going to be as an adult, I think. But I got an opportunity to see a new coach come into my high school. And in that first year of him coming in, we won a state championship. And he did create a new brand in that short amount of time that he came there. And I saw everything from the graphics and the material and promotional marketing, everything he did with the city, the networks of people that he influenced and worked with and tried to partner with and kind of create some type of culture and sustainable momentum, if you will, behind the community. I saw him actually do that. And I was an observant kid, but I didn't realize I was observing him build a brand. But now once I started my own company, I was like, you know what, I'm kind of doing that now. And I could reflect on those types of lessons that, fortunately for me, were business lessons as well as just lessons in kind of brand building and trying to achieve something that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah, isn't that so fun? All right, so tell me a little bit about how you founded Kettlebell Kings. You talk about it in chapter 5 in your book, and it's a great story. Tell us a little bit about how that got started. And, one of the things that a lot of people are listening is, starting something and being responsible for it, giving birth to a business, it's a big deal. Tell us about how you got that started.
Sure. When I was in college, I always kind of knew, and even before college, I kind of knew I wanted to potentially start my own company or work for some type of company that I, extremely respected. I wanted to be a part of a unit or a team that did things that other people, aspired to do or looked up to. And I thought I could do that through my own company. But when I graduated, obviously, like anyone else, I need to make a living and, I need to try to figure out what I'm going to do and kind of where I fit in a company or a larger role. So I had quite a few different jobs, ended up in oil and gas. And while I was working there, I was progressing pretty good in my career there and was kind of setting myself up to where I knew that if I wanted to have a stable, corporate job, I could have that. But if I wanted to start my own company, I kind of needed to make that decision. And when I decided to make that decision, I got two of my friends together. And really, I just started asking around in my friend group to people who I talked about before. And I just said, hey, I really want to start my own business. And, I'm doing this kind of with or without you. And I'd love to find two people who want to join me. And I didn't even know what the company was going to be or anything when we started this. It was just like, hey, I want to start something online. I want it to be e-commerce. I want to build an online community of people who really appreciate kind of the content generation and the extra value that we bring to a community besides just the product. So the product was almost like a secondhand or a secondary objective compared to really trying to build an online community of people who, let's say, were enthusiasts about a particular topic, and that ended up being kettlebells.
Okay, that's fantastic. So I'm kind of hearing that teamwork is important, right? Like I got to
For
find
sure.
two people to help me out. Yeah. So with all of your football experience and then this entrepreneurial experience, what do you think the keys to teamwork are?
I think it varies in a lot of different ways. And, I think you have different size teams. I think you have teams that are trying to basically achieve something that one individual may struggle or can't achieve on their own. And a lot of times, I've had to do that so many times in my career. I tell people all the time, I didn't like all the people that I played sports with. I think no one does. You're on a team with 100 people on the football team. You don't like every single one of them, but it gives you an appreciation for the different roles, the effort and the discipline required to show up and practice every day, to run every day. And you start kind of respecting one another just because of the effort that you put forth towards that larger goal. And so for me, that's what it was really about. I mentioned not even having an idea of what the company was. That was important to me. So even if I would have had the idea, I wouldn't have told them because I wanted them to be committed to the team, regardless of the idea, whether it was, we're going to mine moon rocks or if we're going to build a kettlebell company. I need you on board with the mission. So that kind of stuff, it kind of oozes from me from my sports background where, it doesn't matter what the coach says we have to do. We do it as a team and we get it done together.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the fact that you mentioned the word discipline. And I'm going to tell you that is something you definitely need if you're going to be an entrepreneur or an athlete. So what are some of the disciplines that an entrepreneur needs, or a business person needs, to be successful?
I think one of the big ones is, just being a lifelong learner,
Mhm.
thinking of your field as a never ending kind of learning journey. So what I knew nothing about kettlebells when I started. And I think that was a good thing for me. And I approach things like this anyway, but I know it was a good thing because I was able to completely just nerd out on what is a kettlebell, what is the history of a kettlebell, what types of kettlebells are there, what types of workout affect people in this way. You can keep going forever with these types of kind of different perspectives of your particular field or industry. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs kind of miss that point, and they try to maybe outsource some of it, and it doesn't really come off as genuine or as authoritative as you would like. So for me as a leadership role, there's no one that knows more about kettlebell kings than me. There's no one that knows more about life grows green than me. It can't exist because I'm always trying to outpace anyone else that's even there. I'm trying to outpace my competitors. I want to be more of an expert, and I want to be seen as more of an expert. So I think that requires some kind of life learning and educational efforts on your part as a business owner and as a leader.
Yeah, and I think that lifelong learning is like doing your sit-ups, running your laps, getting
It's the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. I agree.
yeah.
Yeah. And you've got a quote right before we get into part 2 of your book. And that's where I really want to focus, because I think everybody listening can benefit from the 10 building blocks of business that Chad Price has in his book. So he's built a company, Kettlebell Kings, right? And he sold it. And now he has this new company. And so he knows how to do this. So we're going to get the down low from Chad. But you said building a successful business has been one of the most rewarding experiences in life. So obviously you make money, but what are the other rewards you're talking about?
I mean, I think it empowers you, right? I mean, I think
Yeah,
when you achieve something that's difficult, you've proven to yourself that you're capable of more things than you may have thought previously possible. It makes you want to tackle new challenges. I look back, and even like the bad things that I experienced are, those are the things that toughened me and made me who I am today. So it's almost hard to regret it when you're going towards a positive goal. And I think starting your own business is one of those things that once it succeeds, it doesn't matter how long it took to get there. You will be happy with having made it and having had something that is recognized by other people as something valuable. I think even being recognized by other companies that are in the space and different things like that, those all bring a sense of appreciation and a sense of gratitude for how difficult the journey is. And, I think it's the same as sports. I remember winning the state championship in high school, and it felt like the world was ours. It obviously wasn't, and there were other things going on in the world, but to
that's
us in
right.
that
But to a
moment,
young guy, that's
yeah,
everything.
it was everything. I mean, it
Yeah.
was everything. There was it because my excitement does not get any higher than that level of excitement. So I think it's the same with the business. When you know you've done something that other people appreciate and you've kind of quote unquote made it, it just feels super rewarding. And I think if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a competitive person, you get something out of it.
Yeah, 100%. And for those of you that are listening that aren't entrepreneurs, you might be employed inside a company that is owned by an entrepreneur. These same lessons apply, right?
For
Because
sure.
you're getting the life lessons along the way. Okay, so in the second part of Chad's book, after he tells about his story with the Kettlebell Kings and how he did all that, he gives you basically his success formula. So please don't miss that, everybody. So the first thing you say is building a team. Now we already kind of touched on it, but I love this. At the beginning of that chapter, you say, and I've already, underlined and highlighted in the book, as you all know, I read all the books. It says, a company is born to solve a problem or answer a need. And that is like so important for everybody to understand. Why is this company born? It's to solve a problem in the world. And you said you were so happy when you won the championship, so happy when you started Kettlebell Kings. In my company, like we change people's lives, right?
Yeah.
And you might be like, it's just a weight. No, it's like we're changing lives here. So I think that's really important. So talk a little bit about how building the team and the fact that a company is born to solve a problem or answer a need, how those two things work together.
For sure. And I mean, I'm glad you brought up like the state championship, because I think even in the book, I talk about kind of my first lesson and really seeing that happen in the real world was the state championship, where, the coach came in, he had a message: one thought, one goal, state champions. If anything deterred from that message, you were the problem. There was no such thing as, well, this is going on, but today this, and it was no debating this. This was the reason we existed, was for the state championship. That might seem intense and severe and harsh to some people, but when you're committed to a large goal like that, it builds a kind of a loyal fan base, a loyal community of people who really appreciate that effort towards that one goal. And it's the same for a company, I believe. Is you don't have to be perfect as a human being. You don't have to be perfect in life, but you can come to work and you can come to practice and you can try to be perfect together every single day. And you can get better and closer to perfect. And what was, previously impossible will become possible if you keep working together at it every single day. And I think that's what I try to do with my teams. Is I try to create that singular focus and that singular purpose that will drive everybody. And when the team gets distracted, when we were kind of deterring off of that path, I think it's, a leader's job to say, hey, why are we here? We're here to, if it's kettlebells, we're here to support the kettlebell enthusiast community. That's why we exist. There's no other kind of your personal ego or anything else involved. And someone always kind of has to police that and keep everyone on that focus. And I think that's what sports has taught me to do, and I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah, fantastic. And so you say, number one thing you need to do with a team is instill a sense of cooperation. So how does a leader get people to cooperate? What are some keys to doing that?
One of the things I think is easy is you doing things that you don't want to do a lot of times. I think a lot of times, especially when you have partners, you will have conflicting strategies on how to get things done. Supporting their strategy will give you a lot of leeway in the future. And I'm super big on that. So, I mean, a lot of times I will even go as far as to support something that I know is wrong. And I support it with the same effort and kindness and, love and support that I would if we were doing it my way or the right thing. And I think when people see you doing that, it's one of those things where they know you have their back regardless, and they know that they've been heard. And now you get an opportunity to really focus on moving as one. How do we continue to move as one? I like to tell people a lot of times in sports, especially football, it doesn't really matter if you're running a run play or a pass play. Sometimes it matters that everybody's running the same play. So if everyone's not running the same play, the chances of you succeeding is almost zero. But if you can get everyone running the same play, even a wrong play can go right, because you have everyone on the same page. And that's kind of the philosophy I try to take, and just getting people to move on the same page, even if at sometimes we have to move, quote unquote, in a wrong or sideways direction.
That's right, because otherwise you're going to drop the ball, they're going to get possession, and it's all over. Okay, all right. Another thing you say under build a great team is that you say don't take anything for granted. Why is it so important that leaders not take anything for granted?
I mean, I think, people say terms like, you could be anywhere you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me tonight type of deal, right? I think it is that kind of appreciation for people even being there in your space and committing any effort towards your dream. It's no one else's dream for me to become a multimillionaire. And the fact that they believe in quote unquote kettlebell kings or believe in life grows green, that's that's a appreciation that I should show them as well, for even seeing my light, seeing the effort that I'm putting forth, seeing the dream that I might have, and trying to support that dream. So I think good coaches and good leaders are, they're empathetic, and they can kind of make people feel associated with something that's bigger than themselves, where there's extra value that goes along with that. I tell brands all the time, and I think a lot of brands miss out on having a community of people that would support them just because they're proud to wear the t-shirt, just because they're proud to be associated with that logo and with that movement, or with the values and culture that that movement stands for. And that's what I try to create. And I try to show people that, hey, there's additional value here for being a participant in the Kettlebell Kings community. It's bigger than just the paycheck that you receive. You know, it's a personal mission of mine. And if it's a personal mission of yours, I want to empower you. And whatever other personal missions you have in life, if I can empower those, I'll empower those as well. But it's more than just, you know, the points on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying about don't miss this, everybody. He said, you know, people have a personal mission. They could work for your company, but they have a personal mission. And I couldn't agree more. That's one of my favorite things that I talk to people about is creating a mission statement for work and life. If you don't have that from Nicole Greer yet with Build a Vibrant Culture, everybody reach out to me and I will get it to you. So I think having a personal mission is absolutely huge. All right, so we're going through Chad Price's book, Preparing for Battle, because it is a battle to build a business, but he's given us his 10 building blocks for business. And the first one was building a team. We got to get the team in place. And then we've got to do this thing you say, pushing through it. Will you talk a little bit about building my business? I got to be pushing through it. What is the it in pushing through it? What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, a lot of people are unaware with the amount of potential problems that exist when you are a complete owner of the company. You know, like I think you're a little naive when you're an employee that someone else takes care of that and someone else takes care of, you know, the most difficult decisions. When you become the owner, at the end of the day, you're responsible for all the hard problems. If it was easy, someone else would be doing it. And what's going to happen is your desk is just going to be flooded day in, day out with the most difficult problems that the company faces. And you're going to have to not only tackle and overcome those problems, but you're going to have to do it with a smile on your face and do it in an inspirational way that the team doesn't get demoralized and, you know, everyone's still moving in a positive direction. So to me, that kind of pushing through it is about that. And that, you know, that comes from my sports background as well. You have you have no idea how many times I had to push through practice, had to push through running, weights, whatever that may be. And, you know, you do it in an inspirational way because you're trying to make the team better. So you almost look for those opportunities so that you can show the team how committed you are, how much energy and effort you're willing to put towards achieving this goal. And without kind of pushing through it, you don't really have those opportunities to kind of galvanize your team and really build those moments of camaraderie that, you know, you will need for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, if we relate it to sports, you know, pushing through it is just like, you know, building that endurance. And don't miss what Chad said. He said, handling all the problems, which is absolutely true. And for those of you who aren't entrepreneurs, but may work inside of companies, when you become the VP over a department or you are the manager of a team, he said, and I quote, you have to do it with a smile on your face. One of the things, Chad, I tell people all the time is, you know, leaders aren't allowed to have a bad day. And they absolutely do not like it when I tell them that. But I'm like, because listen, if you don't show people how to navigate the tough spots, they're not going to know how to do it with, you know, style, with proper emotional intelligence. You know, they're not going to know how to do it. You got to do this old-fashioned thing, lead by example.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of stuff that I love. I've always been an observant person. So, you know, even when I was 14, I was watching my coaching staff and trying to figure out, okay, why are they treating people like this? And what is the real goal behind this? And if I was the coach, would I do it this way? Blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
I've had coaches send other coaches home because they weren't leading in the correct way that day. And I loved that. I was like, oh man, this is serious. And it does send a message to everyone else that, hey, when we come here, everyone puts their best foot forward to try to achieve this goal that we set for at the beginning of the season. And if anyone can't do that, then sorry, you know, unfortunately, this is not the place for you. I really believe you have to kind of have some level of respect and commitment for that goal. And for me, that comes supernatural from my sports background, but I don't think it comes natural for most people. And that's what I've found since I've graduated and started my own companies is for a lot of people that can come shocking that there's kind of no days off as a leader, and you have to have that same level of commitment that you started with, you know, long after the emotions and the passion that you initially used to fuel that is gone.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So his second thing in how to build a company is pushing through it. And he says at the very end of that particular part of the book, he says, pushing through it means not allowing obstacles to stop your progress. I mean, one of the things that leaders need to do, and I have this yesterday, in fact, I was working with a manufacturing team and I showed them this image, and it had like a bus across an intersection, and there's a traffic jam on one side and a traffic jam on the other side. And I said, that's the leader's job. Get the bus out of the way so these people can do their jobs. And so the tough problems, you get them out of the way, you do it with a smile on your face. Chad, I love that. All right. So the third thing he says is you got to manage your money wisely. All right. And so this is what your daddy told you, your grandma told you, all your people told you this. Talk a little bit about getting your money in order. And this is personal and in your business, right? You got to have all these things together.
For sure. I think it's easier sometimes when you have partners because the resources at the company don't get mixed with your personal income. It's very, very easy when you are the only owner of a company to mix your personal income with the business resources. But when you have either one of those situations, you have to kind of take accountability as a leader and manage or budget everything that you're doing. When it came to, let's say, Kettlebell Kings, for example, we didn't pay ourselves for 5 years, which I don't recommend doing that at all for anyone. It's a terrible 5 years to go through. Luckily for me, I had made other arrangements. I started another company. I started a nail salon at the same time. So that was able to generate cash flow for me while I was building this online brand and community. But also I had partners who were just as committed to me to seeing the company grow. And we didn't want to pull money out. Every time it was time to pull money out, we could only think of more things that the company needed. So it was almost just continuously reinvesting into the company. With a growing brand, it will never not need new financial resources to grow. So, it just became this kind of never ending cycle of us just dumping everything to grow inventory and to grow the brand. Well, at some point, we even had to say, we need to get this budget in order and pay ourselves, or we need to, do something else. We can't do this forever. But at least we already had an understanding, and we already had clean books to look at and to make a decision on, okay, this is where we need to go if we want to be able to pay ourselves $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month or whatever that is. We were able to construct that very clearly because we had budgeted, for the last 5 years, basically, dime to dime. We knew where everything was going.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. And he says on page 57, I made a little circle around this. I think it's worth telling everybody. Effective management of material resources is critical. You've got to have an inventory management, a supply chain optimization, cost control, maintain an adequate inventory, avoid wasting resources, and reduce your operating expenses and improve profitability. That's all one paragraph, but that is a financial lesson in a major paragraph. Yeah. So you've just got to do what the business moguls have been saying for years.
Well, for me, I got to learn that lesson the hard way, especially with just setting up the operation and the infrastructure. One of the things that I realized setting up let's say a kettlebell infrastructure is, there's not going to be many things that ship online that are going to cost more than that kettlebell shipping online. So it's probably that the cost of shipping is more than the actual product itself at times. And quite a bit of the times it's more than the product itself, unless you have it strategically placed in a geographical region close to where it's being delivered. The shipping can really be a cost prohibitor for most companies to even get into this particular field. So you have to get your volume to a certain level before it even really makes sense to offer things like free shipping and these types of things. Well, we had to go through that process and work out all our efficiencies at the extreme end. So when you have it at that extreme, 5% is a big deal. 2% becomes a huge deal because you're paying so much. And we just got to continuously improve on that. And I think a lot of business owners, they miss out on that because they're worried about the top end versus, making it as efficient as they can as they go along. So having those building blocks in place, I think, is what helps you scale and build a system that's going to make money over the long run versus kind of looking for the short or the quick money up front.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying. And again, even if you're not an entrepreneur, if you wonder why the leaders in your organization are talking about the budget and squeaking, the numbers and making sure the revenue is where it needs to be, is for this very reason, right? We've got to have the money in a proper function so that we can stay in the black, keep people employed, and we can keep moving the thing forward. And in order to do that, number 4 in your building blocks to building a company is having an entrepreneurial mindset and a high level of personal energy. And so talk a little bit about entrepreneurial mindset. So what is that exactly?
Well, I mean, the way I describe it is you're always looking to grow, and you're always looking to kind of create a deal. It really never turns off. I used to tell people all the time, I used to sell kettlebells everywhere I went. There would almost be no such thing as me not talking about kettlebell kings. If I met somebody, why would I not talk about that? It doesn't even make sense to me to not talk about it.
Right.
And I think when you're looking for opportunities like that, you find them. And I think when people see that passion in you and that's what you're talking about, even if they're not the opportunity, they go, oh, you know what, who would love you? Who would, I need to put you in contact with this person. That happens time over and time over. And it just wasn't for me. It was with my business partners. And once you can get kind of your entire leadership group, your entire ownership group to think and move that way, it just opens up your networks completely for every opportunity that exists in that space. And that's what we were able to do. And I think when you have that kind of focus and the personal energy to sustain that, it makes it very easy or a lot easier, I should say, to start a brand like Kettlebell Kings.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, people love a passionate person, right? Like it's attractive. It's like the law of attraction, right? It's like, why is he so excited about kettlebells? And then it goes back to what you said at the beginning, which is like we have one focus: to get these kettlebells in the hands of people so they can have a better life. I mean, like we're not messing around here. This is big stuff, right? And what's the difference between somebody, Chad, who is out of shape, doesn't feel good in their body, and somebody who's in shape and feels good in their body? What's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, you see it. You can feel the energy. You can feel the kind of and I feel like, especially from its sports, I feel like you're seeing their previous work kind of on display. So
That's right.
when people work out physically, that's what you see. You see the body that, oh, I want that body, and that's years of working out, and that's countless push-ups and pull-ups and whatever other exercises they've done. And when you have a passion and you've aligned that with your business, I think that really shows up in the same way, because people are like, wait a minute, you really do this. Like, this is something that you're dead serious about. You're a professional at, if I ever need anything in regards to this, you're the guy. Well, that's what I'd be trying to create if, when I'm trying to start off a community or a brand. And I think every leader should be doing that and trying to inspire the people underneath them to move and think that way as well. Because if you want to move into that leadership role, if you want to start your own company, no one's going to kind of create that spark of energy other than you.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I love it. Again, it goes back to lead by example, right? You're a walking, talking example of what you sell and what you do. And you've got this passion. All right. So number 5 in how to build your company is embracing the competitive playing field. So we're back to football and business being a metaphor here. So tell me a little bit about, how do I embrace the competitive playing field? What do I need to do?
Well, I mean, I think in every field, there are limited exceptions of, you've created some product that does not exist. It's a patented new product that's yours, and you can brand that and market that as you see fit. But in most companies that start, the companies like you already exist. And I think a lot of companies miss out on kind of studying film of the market and understanding how these companies make money, understanding what their most lucrative products and services are, really studying the competitive playing field that they're going to go into. I compare that to playing sports, and in football, there's no such thing as us not watching the other team's games. Like, we watch them religiously. I mean, we watch their games as much as they probably watch their games, and it's because we want to understand the capabilities not just of them but of teams that we're going to play. And I think in business, I try to do the same thing. So I would literally sign up and try to study every every fitness company. So before we started Kettlebell Kings, I literally signed up for every newsletter I could think of, every popular fitness company, everyone that I thought, oh, we'd like to have something cool like that. I would sign up and become one of their fans or customers to really understand, okay, this is the level of expectation to build a community like this. And I think doing that kind of stuff calibrates you for the effort and the bar of where you have to reach in order to really make progress. And for me, that comes natural just from watching film and sports.
Yeah, that's right. And doing a market survey on the people that are in the same business as you, it'll tell you where you stand out, your unique selling proposition, right? And it'll tell you where you're falling short. So you got to do your homework. You got to watch the tapes, as he's saying. Okay, all right. So the next thing is you've got to have a clear vision. And oh my gosh, I love this so much, because I think this is something that at the beginning of a company, there's a vision. And as a company's around for a little while, if they don't keep this fresh, we could get lost. So tell me a little bit about having a clear vision.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% right. I think even the vision can shift, and it still needs to be
100%.
kind of reiterated or reframed for the company so that people can understand it. When we started Kettlebell Kings, is a great example. We didn't even want to make our own equipment. Our original goal was to be a content generator for kettlebell enthusiasts who would bring every single kettlebell community to one place online. And then we would have a superstore where all the kettlebells from the world would be in that store. And we would just partner with brands and bring all of them. We'd have a wholesaler relationship, or, we'd create up whatever kind of operational strategies we needed to make it make money. But we didn't really even want to have our own brand. But as we started learning more about what kettlebells were, what the kettlebell enthusiasts really wanted, we realized, like, well, maybe we need to design our own kettlebell. And that's what we keep getting asked by people that we're deeming to be the most credible people in this space. And eventually that's what we did. And that kettlebell became the main kettlebell that people would use to compete internationally, or nationally and internationally. So, it ended up going great for us to go in that direction. But that was a shift from what we originally did. And when we shifted, we basically told everyone, hey, we are manufacturing kettlebells now. So, we take pride in the specs and the feel and every single thing about manufacturing kettlebells, just as we would selling someone else's kettlebell. So it was kind of an update of the original mission statement, but it was an update that everybody was kind of already aware of. And it wasn't completely different, but it was something that complemented what we were already doing. And it really kind of focused us even more on how we were going to achieve that original mission statement.
That's fantastic. And so in his book, he's got tips about this, about the vision. As first, you got to visualize the goal, be open to change. Like he just said, he thought he's going to be the Amazon of kettlebells, and he ended up building his own. And then here is an oldie but a goodie. In his book, Chad goes back to this thing that I bet you many of our listeners have heard before, is you've got to have a SMART vision, right? Something that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. I think that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think just, I try to equate a lot of things to sports, but in sports, you kind of know how much you need to train. Like, we have all of these metrics that have been used to train previous generations, previous teams, blah, blah, blah. So there's kind of all of these measurable ways to get faster, to get stronger, to get better at this particular skill, whatever that is. There are methods that have been developed. A lot of times when you start your own company, there's no method. You're designing a fitness program, you're designing it for the first time, and how it's going to fit your team and how it's going to, achieve whatever goal you want to achieve. Well, there still needs to be some thought and strategy to that. And you need to apply like logic to trying to achieve those things. And you apply it in a way that you can measure yourself. So what we would do is the same thing that I would do in sports, is try to watch and measure myself, go out and measure it in using things like SMART, and then go back and review that and see how we did, and then make criticisms of that and get better at the next time. And just iteration after iteration of doing that, you eventually get to something that moves the needle and actually makes you money, or makes the goal you were trying to achieve actually possible.
Yeah, and don't miss what he's saying. Like, you have to put goal setting and vision work, like on your calendar. You
Yeah.
don't just cast it and then, do the day-to-day operations. You got to kind of get in that leadership seat and look at the SMART goals, look at the vision over and over. That's fantastic. All right. So he says on page 72, which I love, put a circle around this too, Chad. Vision statement's purpose is clearly defining your organization's long-term position and purpose. A well-crafted vision statement gives meaning and purpose to everything you do. So it's something that you are constantly measuring against, right? Like, is what we're about to do, the strategy we're going to put in place, is it going to help us get this vision done? So it helps you not get lost.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of the things that I realized pretty quickly, especially because you play sports, everyone knows what it is to win a football game. Everyone has a clear understanding of the score on our side's higher and the score on their side's lower.
Right.
But when you talk about winning at entrepreneurship or a brand, like everyone has a different version of what winning is. And your winning might be at 1 million, my winning might be at 100 million. And if you don't talk about that and have a clear understanding, you could be so far off from what your actual goals are that they're thinking they're winning and you're thinking that you're losing because you're not communicating from the same perspective. And those vision statements, mission statements, kind of having that clear vision will help everyone understand this is what winning is. This is how we define success. This is how we define progress, whatever that is. It's all measured through this particular lens. And I think that's kind of how I try to look at it, where I'm giving you the actual, score sheet of how you will score this match or how you will grade this practice or whatever that is, so that we can all stay on the same page in terms of trying to quantify our success.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I'll say about the vision, because I really think this is important, and I think leaders struggle with vision, like they get an idea for the product or they get an idea for a strategy, but they're not tying it back to the vision, and they're not tying it back to the people or making sure the people are on the same page. And the very last thing you say about vision is a vision denotes where people and teams contribute, and it should be their motivation for the work that they do every day. So the leader has to have that intense personal energy you were talking about, and they have to refer to the vision often. You're like, this is what we're doing.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, like you have to say it over and over and over. And to you, it becomes annoying because you can just say, like, I can think of a vision and it's in my head. It's everything's there, every detail's there, no questions. It's all there.
Chad sold out.
Yeah, I'm sold on the idea. What are we talking about? But to sell someone else, it takes more and more. And I think experienced entrepreneurs see that, even trying to sell it to a customer. Like you get customers like, oh, thank you for sending me this email. And you're like, I sent you 20 emails, like, I don't know how you missed it, but if it takes 20 emails, then hey, it is what it is.
That's what it takes.
It's the same with employees and with anyone who's trying to follow you to something that's complex or difficult. Is it will take a repetitive amount of times for you to say things where you get a little annoyed doing it, but it's just part of the process. And sports has given me that kind of thick skin to be able to do that. And like I say, do it with a smile on my face, where I know, okay, well, this is time 15, but we're going to keep going till we get there.
That's
and
right.
and
Well,
it's
time
just
16 will do it. I
yeah,
hope it will
it'll
do
it. Yeah, it'll do it. We'll get there next time. And it's just, to me, it's just part of the process. And even in doing that, are you making those kind of small steps towards the goal? Are we getting a little bit better? Do I not have to say it as much, as frequently? There's ways that you can still measure success in doing that. And for me, it's one of those things that it just has to be a consistent thing that's done as a leader. And like you say, a lot of people do struggle with that because, I think they think, well, I understand the complete vision. So, are you dense? Why don't you understand it? And it's almost like, it comes natural to an entrepreneur or a visionary, and it doesn't come as natural to other people to understand your ideas.
That's absolutely right. Okay. Number 7, I love too. All right. So we're doing the 10 things that we need to do to build a great business. And you have in here, you need to become a leader and you need to have a mentor. I think that's a fantastic piece of advice. I don't think a lot of people have mentors anymore, Chad, and I have one. I am so lucky, so blessed. I have a woman named Anne in my life, and she just tells me I can do more, and she supports me and she challenges me and she just pushes, and I'm so grateful for her. So tell me a little bit about becoming a leader and having a mentor. I know you had all your coaches, but is there anybody else in your life who's come alongside you and said, come on, Chad, let's do this?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I'm one of those people that I don't like, I think you're very fortunate if you can find that one person that is going to be able to mentor you in life. And, if you have a great family member or father, mother type of deal, like you should thank your stars, across your fingers, thank your God, whoever that is.
That's right. I thank God every day for it.
Whatever that is, because that's very fortunate. But I think we all can have mentors in the different things that we really want to grow in. And I think trying to seek those people out becomes something that is just part of kind of that life learning process for me. If I see someone who is a kettlebell enthusiast and they have a lot of kettlebell knowledge, they become a kettlebell mentor for me for that space. That doesn't mean that they're mentoring me on the business decisions, but when it comes to how do I do that particular thing, or how was the most effective way to utilize this tool, I'm not even going to second guess myself. I'm going to go try to find someone who I know is more credible to me in that space. And I do that with a lot of things. So some of my mentors have been, let's say the CEO of a company that I hired, or a contractor who does pay-per-click. And now all of a sudden, I'm like, this guy really gets it. And he's a mentor for me for social media advertising, or, Google advertising, whatever that is. And so I look at it like that, to where I have really good relationships with people that are based on me respecting their experience and their knowledge in a space. And I think when you show that respect to people, they want to share that knowledge. And, I want to take it. So it's a mutually beneficial experience. And I think a lot of people, they want to be a part of something like that. Even at this point in my life, I've been able to mentor quite a few college students, for example. So, I've been doing that for a couple of years now. And I think it's the same thing, as where, I'm trying to give back as much as I can to where they are in their journey. And I want them to pull it out of me so I can give it to them. And I try to take that same approach to, people who are maybe 10, 15 years older than me, or maybe 10 to 15 years more experience in a particular space. But it's just a never ending kind of approach for me to continue to find more knowledge in life.
Yeah. All right. So that dovetails what he said earlier, lifelong learner. If you didn't write that down, please write it down now. Okay. All right. So we've got 3 more to go in just a little space of time, but I don't want to miss a single one. You talk about creating a roadmap and setting the tone. So we've cast the vision. We're surrounding ourselves with mentors so that we've got partners along the way. How do we create the roadmap and set the tone? Let's talk about the tone. A roadmap would be like a strategic plan. But what's the tone? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I think the tone for me is more, the intensity level. How much effort it's going to take on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis to actually reach our goals. A lot of times, we want things to be easy, and we don't necessarily know the pace that we need to be running in order to make us a real significant change. And in health and fitness, it's very easy. Most people, when they first start a workout routine, they struggle with just getting to the point where they're in shape enough to be able to then continuously work out and build everything that they want to build. Most people assume they can come there and just start, well, I want my legs to be skinnier, so I'm just going to start there. And it just doesn't work like that. You haven't even built a foundation to be able to start focusing on these specifics. And I think it's like that for business as well, where you have to design a foundation of habits that you're going to do every single day, every single week, monthly. You're going to check in on these things. And then you have to overlay that with your plan and see, okay, do I need more resources? Do I need more people? Do we need to work more hours? Do we need to make more calls? Like, all of that is something that, as an owner or as a leader, you have to figure out yourself. And so that's what I mean by setting the tone is, when we had a kettlebell warehouse, for example, every single person that started would complain about the weights. And then it's just like, oh my God, this is so heavy. How do you guys do this every day? And it's just like, no, we don't do that here. So that's my job, to come and let you know on day one, we don't complain about how heavy the weights are. It's a good thing. When someone orders something and it's 20,000 pounds, that's one of the best things that could possibly happen to us. And we're going to act like that. So we're going to be excited. We're going to go get it. And I'll show you. Let's go do it together. We'll load this up together.
Right.
that's the tone to me. It's an appreciation for the reason that we're here and what our goals are here, regardless of what you were told before, where you came from, whatever that is. Now that you're here, we're trying to be positive and trying to really work on the vision and the mission of the company in general.
That's right. That's right. Okay. So I'm kind of hearing like tone is a little bit of attitude. Like this is our
For sure.
attitude. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had a shirt for many years that said attitude is everything. One of my employees gave it to me as a gift
Yeah.
because like I used to say that all the time. It's like it could be 5 minutes to closing time and here comes a customer. We treat them
Perfect example.
yeah, we treat them exactly the same as the customer who was here when we opened the doors, right?
I,
You know, so
I'll give you even better one. When I was at the
okay,
salon, we would close at 7 o'clock,
right.
and the appointments are 30 minutes. Some of the appointments are 30 minutes long. Everyone hates when someone shows up at 6:30 because you want to leave it at 7. You'll
Right.
probably leave at 7:10. But that customer, when they come in, they feel that same level of anxiety. They know they came in at 6:30. If you treat them with the level of kindness like they were there early and there's no big deal, they will
Right.
be a lifelong customer every single time. So
That's
that's an
right. Let's close the
opportunity.
deal.
The people that come in late are an opportunity to find like rabid fans for your company. And most people will go, "Oh man, you're here late. I can't believe this, blah, blah." And it's like, no. This person chose to drive here, even though they knew it was going to be late. And they were like, please just let me in. So treat them like that. Treat them like they could have went to any other nail salon in the world and they decided to come here and give you that opportunity. So
That's right.
setting that type of tone, it really changes your brand because people see it, they go through it. They might not agree with it at first, but when they actually see the results from it, it changes them forever as well. And then they take that culture and they teach other people that culture, and it becomes contagious amongst everyone at the company. And that's really what you're going for.
Yeah, and that's why I teach everybody to build a vibrant culture. You're preaching. I love it. Okay, we got two things left, Chad. The next one is you've got to build a community. So you got to surround yourself with people who know, understand, and believe in your product and your business. Talk a little bit about how you built a community and how you're building one today with your new company.
Well, I mean, I think we live in an age where we're all so connected that it's just a matter of you kind of figuring out how to truly bring value to those people who are interested in your brand. Um, content generation is a part of every business now. It's almost no business that doesn't have a content generation wing, and that wasn't the case 20 years ago. So we are entering a space where I truly believe the community behind you can provide so much more value than any advertising dollar could do, or any kind of direct sale advertising that you're going to go after. If you can use that same resources to build a community of people, then you have the people that are your kind of like forever spokespeople for your particular brand. So with the kettlebell community, I'll give you an example. There are people who believe in kettlebell sport, which is one style of using a kettlebell, and there's people who will believe in the hard style, or let's say like more CrossFit style of the kettlebell usage. Where there doesn't have to be a right or wrong in this scenario. The question is why are they at competitions with each other when they should
Yeah.
be working together to build the kettlebell community? And as a brand, that's the types of initiatives we would do. So we would purposely go after groups who may have been, let's say, in some type of controversy online, and try to be the mediator and bring those two groups together underneath one umbrella of, hey, we're here for whatever the best thing for kettlebells is. And so you could have two different competitions where one competition is a hard style competition, another competition is a kettlebell sport competition. Well, Kettlebell Kings is going to sponsor a competition. We're going to do both. And that kind of stuff brings communities together, and it gives you more than just product. So whenever you're looking for the product, you say, hey guys, we have this product to a community, versus trying to go find someone randomly off, the internet who wants to buy a kettlebell. It's more 90% of our efforts would go to generate and to build more people in the community, versus 10% to actually try to market or sell them kettlebells or products.
Yeah, and you are very successful doing it. Congratulations. And then finally, number 10, the final one is knowing to when to let go. So leave everybody with an idea about what that means.
Well, one of the things that's hard for business owners is it does become personal.
It's your baby.
It's your baby, and you will have personal attachment to it. I could not believe I had tears in my eyes when we were selling.
I believe it.
I was like, man, why am I getting like, I don't know what's going on with me, I feel all this overwhelming emotion coming up inside of me.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things where if you're a true entrepreneur, you try to make the best business decisions that you can. And I think that is a real thing. If you were an AI, there would be a right play most of the time. And that's the way I try to, look at businesses. I want to make the right moves. I want to make the right plays. I don't want to be doing things because of my ego and because there's a personal agenda. And I don't want to be that type of business partner to someone else either. That's really big for me because I've had to deal with business partners like that myself, where I'm dealing with your ego now. I'm not really having to deal with the business. And that's a different problem that some people have. And I don't want to be that problem for someone. So for me, it's really strategically looking at the business, taking these snapshots, watching the film, like I say, and really trying to assess, are you making the right decisions? Sometimes the best decision is for maybe you not to be the coach anymore, someone else to be the coach, or maybe you not to call the plays and someone else calls plays. You can still, be over charge of this, but someone else needs to take charge of that. And that's the kind of stuff that I like to be able to do. Give you an example for the salon, the nail salon. We had a very successful nail salon. My girlfriend and I, COVID happened. We had to go home for 6 months. So we obviously weren't making any money. The back rent accumulated. In order to sign a new lease, they wanted us to pay the back rent, which we weren't going to do. And we couldn't have done it even if we wanted to. We never kind of dug ourselves out of that hole. And so at that particular time, it made sense to close that business down. That to some people would have been like, oh man, that's devastating. I had to close down a business. But for me, it made clear sense. Like there was no debating. I talked to my accountant. I talked with I have a management consultant that I work with who mentors me on these kind of decisions. I had done all the research I could about what was the best move here. And then it was just a matter of making that move. Well, at the same time, I'm selling another company. So, COVID does a good thing for me over here and a bad thing for me over here, but it's still a strategic business decision. And that's ultimately, I think, where you'll find yourself when you really get deep into entrepreneurship is you just have to sometimes make whatever the best decision is for that particular company. Sometimes it's for yourself or for your resources.
That's right. That's right. Well, everybody, I have had a fantastic guest on the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast, and he is the author of Preparing for Battle, Chad Price. It has been such a delight to have you on the podcast. I know that there's probably one special listener that's like, I wish Chad would give me one more little piece of information, a piece of advice. Final word. Do you have something else you want to share?
Sure. I think one of the things that, I'm passionate about as well is, and I didn't even realize when I started my company, is trying to overlap your own personal passion with your business. I think that's easier said than done. I did not have a personal passion for nails, but I had a passion for building something and building these online communities. And so I was building that online community at the same time as building a fitness community. And I was able to study those communities and how to build these different types of communities. So even from that perspective, I quote unquote found my passion in that. And I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs miss sometimes is try to find what you're passionate about and become an expert at that. And if there are other things that you're not as passionate about, maybe you have to do them at first because you don't have the resources, but try to outsource them or find someone who does have a passion for those to do those things, because ultimately you'll be more efficient and better at what you're doing if you can kind of overlay your passion with your business.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. We've had author and entrepreneur Chad Price on the Build a Vibrant Culture podcast. Do Chad and I a favor. Would you press the like button on this episode? And will you do us a favor? Go down and leave us a nice little note. Tell Chad how much you appreciated his 10 steps to building a business. And Chad, I'm grateful. Where can people find you?
I'm everywhere. You can find me on chadprice.com. Social media, Real Chad Price, LinkedIn, YouTube, pretty much anywhere you can find me. If you're looking to get in contact with me, probably LinkedIn or chadprice.com is the best way.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Everybody have a vibrant day.